Hello, welcome to this short video about turbulence and phytoplankton. I'm François Schmidt, I'm research professor at CNRS, and this work is supported by the graduate school IFSI, so Graduate School for Marine, Fisheries and Seafood Sciences. This is the sixth short video in a series of 7 videos, and it will be about turbulence and phytoplankton. The next one will be about turbulence and zooplankton. So globally, turbulence is important for marine ecosystems. It plays a big role in this type of ecosystem for mixing, transport of particle, transport of different dissolved quantities, also the contact rate between the particles, and exchanges through the different interfaces. So, in fact, we have a citation which is interesting here from Humboldt saying that almost all flows in nature are turbulent. And without turbulence, we would have no aquatic life. So it was also retaken by Margalef in the late 20th century. And he said that, in fact, there is no life without water, and there is no life in water without turbulence. So if we speak about plankton, we see in this picture that we have many different species and shapes of zooplankton and phytoplankton. So globally, plankton lives in suspension in water. It's completely adapted to the turbulent environment because there have been life come from the water. It has always been turbulent. So through hundreds and thousands of generations, in fact, all the species are totally adapted to this environment. So they are transported by turbulence. They see the world in a Lagrangian way. And if we speak about phytoplankton, it's important for the diffusion of food, for the transport, and also the transport along the vertical, because vertical is important for phytoplankton because they need light, which is close to the surface in order to have the photosynthesis. And if they sink, then they need to have some turbulence to be transported again close to the surface. We see in this picture that we have many different shapes for phytoplankton. So in fact, some of these species also have motility properties. So through the shapes, the motility, they have a way which is adapted to the turbulence. And so it's a way to optimize their transport, their position, and the life cycle in the framework of turbulence. So in fact, the Greek etymology of plankton, which comes from plaktos, I'm not sure about the pronunciation, means passive rendering, is not totally true because they are not totally passive particles, but through the shape, the density, the motility, in fact, they have some strategy. And so to say that they are totally passive is not true. Concerning scales, so we see here the different scales in a log scale. We have the smaller scale of turbulence, which is a Kolmogorov scale. We have also the Batchelor scale, which is important for diffusion at a very small scale below the Kolmogorov scale. And we see that the phytoplankton scales are in between, in fact, the Batchelor scale and Kolmogorov scale. It means that, in fact, turbulence will have some effect on them. One word about Margalef's mandala. So it comes back to the 20s when Vito Volterra proposed some models of population dynamics. And in one of these models, he proposed that two species use the same resource. So a bit later, it was called the struggle for life, or the principle of competitive exclusion. And a bit later in the 60s, Hutchinson took away the concept and he called this the plankton paradox. It means that why, in fact, the question is why thousands of phytoplankton species can coexist in the same region because they are sharing the same resource. Usually, if we consider the model which is mentioned before, then only one species should have survived. So the answer for this, there are many different answers, of course, but one possible answer is the fact that the field is not so homogeneous, and in fact there are differences in nutrient, in turbulence, and also in many physical variables. So in fact, each species is adapted to a given environment. And Margalef said that perhaps, in fact, we should consider turbulence and nutrients. So it was published in 78. So it was called the Margalef Mandala. So in fact, he was considering mainly two families, the dinoflagellate and the diatoms. So diatoms have no swimming activity, and they need turbulence to find the nutrients. Dinoflagellate, they're motile. So in fact, the motility takes some energy. It will be useful only when there is no turbulence. So here you can see why it's called mandala. It's because it comes from the 70s, and in the 70s, many people were influenced more or less by the beatnik and also the Tibetan culture. And so it was this mandala, in fact, is if you consider in a 2D framework where you consider turbulence and also nutrients concentration, then you can see that diatoms are found when you have high turbulence and also high nutrient concentration, and dinoflagellates are mainly found when you have low turbulence and also less nutrients, and you have the cocolithophorids in the between. So this comes from the fact that in one case, in fact, they can swim, and for diatoms, they're not swimming. This was a theoretical work, and later, a bit later, so the first work here is in the 80s, they wanted to study this and to check it in the laboratory. So there was a culture of two species. One is a diatom species, the other one is a dinoflagellate species, and they consider turbulence using a moving grid. And using this, they can find that, in fact, turbulence has more effect on the diatom culture than on the dinoflagellate culture. So it was in agreement with Margalef's prediction. We can also mention other experimental works looking at the effect of turbulence on phytoplankton. So here we have a freshwater species, and you have turbulence is generated by using a speaker, the vibration from a speaker. And so it's a small species. You can see it's more or less 5 microns. And so depending on the frequency of the speaker, you have different levels of turbulence. So in one of the column here, you can see the value of epsilon, the dissipation. The next column is eta k, so it's the Kolmogorov scale. The other one is the Bachelor scale. You have also the Reynolds number. And so, in fact, by changing the frequency, you have different level of turbulence. And what was found, if you consider, for example, here, the day 3, you can see that the optimal turbulence intensity is more or less a median value. So if you have too much turbulence, you have less abundance. So in fact, there will be optimal level, which is a median level of turbulence to have the largest growth rate. I will speak also about our own project in Wimereux, in the log. Laboratory of Oceanology and Geoscience. So we had this project called Turbu Diatox, considering the effect of turbulence on the proliferation and toxicity of diatoms. So diatoms, you can see here, there are many different families. Globally, they are not motile. They have many different shapes. And here we considered the Pseudonychia species, which is a diatom that can produce toxin, and toxin in the form of domic acid in some condition. So that's why they are called harmful algae. So we, using the different turbulence generation, using the ArchiTurb system, we were able to generate turbulence using different levels of turbulence. And with rotation, by considering the rotation rate of the agitators, we can reach a Reynolds number corresponding to different levels of turbulence for weak to strong, corresponding to epicontinental sea, coastal zone, surf zone, or even storm. And so different quantities have been measured. So every day during 3 days, the growth, so through the cell count by microscopy, the chain length, the chlorophyll by cell, also the domic acid concentration. And so here you have horizontally, it's a Reynolds number corresponding to the intensity of turbulence, and vertically you have the growth rate. And you can see, in fact, that so it's a growth rate obtained from the ratio of day 2 and day 0 of cell concentration. So we can see there is a general dome shape, and we have a maximum value for medium range of Reynolds number. If it's too large, it's not good. If it's too low, it's not good also. Also, this species is producing is able to have chains, and so you can see here some example with a chain of 3 cells or a chain of 4 cells, and so we counted, in fact, the average number of cell lengths in order to characterize the chain effect. And so here it's the average length of each chain, and we can see also, again, here that we have a dome shape. And there is an optimal Reynolds number at 160 and 240. Also, the same was found for the chlorophyll A concentration per cell, and also the domoic acid concentration. So, in fact, it's a general property, in fact, that was found. So, in order to make the outline of what we found, so first we have many studies since in the last 40 years on the impact of turbulence on phytoplankton. So most studies studied only one turbulence level, and globally, Margalef mandala is verified experimentally. If we speak about our own work, so it's a publication which is shown here, published in 2024. So we found the dome shape for many different properties, like the growth rate, the chain formation, chlorophyll A, domoic acid, and the optimal value of turbulence is a medium value of turbulence. And now I will speak about some numerical simulation of phytoplankton in turbulence. So this is possible only in the last more or less 20 years, but we have much more works in this field in the last 10 years. So in fact, we can study numerically particle dynamics in turbulence. So what is done is that we have a direct numerical simulation of turbulence by simulating the Navier-Stokes equation. So it needs a lot of power, computing power. Then you can put particles in it, and you need an equation for the particles, and you can follow the particles. And this is done for a large number of particles, like 100,000 particles simultaneously. So what is the correct equation for the particles? In fact, it depends on the density, the shape, the size. Globally, for particles of small size, we have a given expression which is shown here. I'm not going to comment too much this. For heavy and small particles, like aerosol in the atmosphere, it's the other question which is shown here. But here we are going to focus on the one which is for the phytoplankton. So in this case, we have the particle density, which is close to the density of the fluid, because the density of phytoplankton is about 1.05. So it's more or less similar with the density of the fluid. And we have the equation which is shown here. So V is the velocity of the particles, U is the velocity of the fluid, which is given by the DNS, the direct numerical simulation of the Navier-Stokes equation. Sigma is the diameter of the particles, and U is the viscosity. So you can see, and this equation is solved at each time step for each of the 100,000 particles. So it's, of course, it's ask for a quite large computing power, but since you can still manage it and study what will be the effect of turbulence on the particles. Another step which is possible, because this is valid, what I shown here is valid for spherical particles. We can see that, in fact, real phytoplankton species are not so spherical. Usually they have a given shape. So what can be done is to try to model this shape by using spheroids. So it's a kind of approximation, and you can have a prolate spheroid like a rugby balloon, or you can have oblate spheroid, and then you have a given equation which can be modified. In this case, you need to take into account the orientation of the particle with respect to the fluid itself, and this is done by an equation which was proposed by Jeffery in 1922. And then you can simulate the dynamics of the particles. Even some people are simulating the motility of the particles, because some phytoplankton species are motile, and then you can put this motility in the system. So to make the outline globally for this kind of numerical studies, people study the dynamics by doing the DNS of Navier-Stokes equation. They put Lagrangian particles in the system. They consider the shape through the Jeffreys equation, and they could possibly introduce also the motility. And so perhaps there are perhaps 20 or 30 papers in the last 10 years about this topic. So it's something which is blooming. It's a fully interdisciplinary studies. It's a way to have connection between numerics and physics and also ecology. And the main result up to now, we can say that we can see that there is an effect of the shape of the sedimentation of the cells. And also we can see in many studies that the motility property leads to clustering of the particles. So it means they can produce patches. So turbulence through the motility and through the shape can produce patches of the particles. So that's all for this topic. I thank you for your attention.